Hello, law geeks. Welcome to Credence Law Learning. This video is being presented for educational purpose. Today, we are going to concentrate on the land law. First, we are going to analyze the syllabus along with its expected questions unit-wise. Today, we are going to cover first, we will understand the syllabus, analyze the syllabus, then the question series, and we'll also see the bare acts to be referred, and then we'll conclude. So, first unit. First and the second unit is about the Rehabilitation Act. The Act is right to fair compensation and transparency in the Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013. In short, we call it Rehabilitation Act of 2013. So this act was enacted with a goal to define and direct a land acquisition process. Here, this land acquisition process involves consultation with the local self-government. Every time a land is getting acquired for some infrastructural purpose, for developmental purpose, first they're going to consult the local self-government. Municipality, panchayat is a local self-government. And this act is also emphasizes on bringing transparent process, informed process for the land acquisition for industrial and development of the infrastructure facilities, and it also focuses on providing just and humane compensation to the affected families whose land has been acquired. So this is the objective of Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act. Now, in the first unit, first important concept is social impact assessment, which is given in chapter 2, containing sections from 4 to 9. Here, social impact assessment means a process where analyzing, monitoring, managing the social consequences of the planned programs, project plans takes place. So, this is social impact assessment. Once the social impact assessment is done, then the process of rehabilitation takes place. That very process is given in chapter 4, containing sections from 11 to 30. Section 11 to 30, it deals with notification and acquisition, is what the chapter names it, but it deals with the preliminary notification and then survey of the land, reviewing the scheme, and then sending the notice to the interested person, and then the award by the collector. So basically, the process of rehabilitation is given in chapter 4, containing sections from 11 to 30. And then from the first unit, the last important concept would be to deal with the provisions of safeguarding the food security, special provisions to safeguard the food security, which is given in chapter 3 in section 10. And basically, from the first unit, we will be concentrating on 3 units: Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 4. Unit 2 deals, it's not unit, it's chapter of the Bare Act. I'm speaking of chapter of the Bare Act. So chapter 2 of the Bare Act of the Rehabilitation Act, that is from 4 to 9, that is social impact assessment, and 3 deals with food security, which is important for the short note, and notification and acquisition, that is the process, the procedure. This is the first unit of the syllabus. And the expected questions. Two questions though we can expect. One is social impact assessment, what is the importance and how social impact assessment takes place. And then the manner and the procedure for rehabilitation. As I was emphasizing earlier, it is chapter 3, which deals with the process, the manner and the procedure, how rehabilitation takes place. And they've also added this concept of Rehabilitation and Resettlement Award, which is given in chapter 5 of the Act, containing sections from 31 to 42. 31 to 42. That has also been covered in the question series of past papers. We find this question being repeatedly asked as well. So that is Rehabilitation and Resettlement Award, and how the market value of the land is determined, and then the welfare concept of the land acquisition, welfare concept, and the procedure. Basically, it's chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. This first unit. Speaking of the second unit, it is a continuation of the Rehabilitation Act, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013. First important concept, which is given in chapter 2, unit 2 of the syllabus, is National Monitoring Committee for Rehabilitation and Resettlement. That is Chapter 7. Chapter 7 of the Bear Act. When we talk about this monitoring committee, we have monitoring committees in two jurisdictions. One is in the national level, that is National Monitoring Committee for Rehabilitation and Resettlement, given in section 48, and section 50 deals with State Monitoring Committee for the Rehabilitation and Resettlement. That is the first concept. And then there is this Rehabilitation and Resettlement Authority, which is given in chapter 8, containing sections from 51 to 74. 51 to 74, this is again the most important from the second unit in of the syllabus. We can expect this question even in exam. That is Rehabilitation and Resettlement Authority, given in chapter 8. And then apportionment of compensation is important for the short note. Payment of compensation is important for the short note. Offenses and penalties, you can just have a glance of it. This is all about the Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013, which is covered in chapter 1, unit 1 and unit 2 of the syllabus. And it is basically one act which is given in first two units of the syllabus. The reason why I've been emphasizing on this on the sections and the chapters is because you're going to score 2 marks just for writing the sections and the chapter numbers. So make sure you give importance to the Bear Act, give importance to the sections and the chapters. And then the expected questions from the second unit would be this the monitoring committee, food security, and then food security, minimum compensation, and then compensation, apportionment, notification. And basically here, if you just give importance to this two, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Authority, National Monitoring State Monitoring Committee, and Food Security, Apportionment and Payment. And this is basically important from the second unit. And yeah, Bear Acts. The Bear Acts, first Bear Act number 1, which is to be studied in the land law, is right to fair compensation and the transparency in the Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013. This is the first act. And then this is just a quick information about the classes available. If you're looking for handwritten notes, classes, and guidance, you can contact to the number given. And you can choose us to get quality learning, to get live sessions, recording sessions, and to have a regular check on your preparations, and to learn sections and the chapters at the fingertips, and to acquire knowledge with easy understanding. And now, third unit. Speaking of the third unit of the syllabus, we have the act called Karnataka Land Revenue Act of 1964. Speaking of Karnataka Land Revenue Act of 1964, it was introduced to harmonize the land revenue laws and to bring a unified legal framework for the state. And this act, Land Revenue Act 1964, divides its chapters into 15, like it is divided into 15 chapters containing 202, that is 202 sections. And and then this act is also emphasizes on assessing and collecting the land revenue, maintenance of the record of rights, and the settlement of lands. And speaking of the important concepts to be read from the examination point of view, number one is Chapter 2, containing sections from 3 to 23, deals with the revenue officers, constitution and powers of the revenue officers, and Chapter 3, containing sections from 24 to 39, deals with the procedure of revenue officers. Procedure of revenue officer is basically deals with the powers of the revenue officers. So if at all you get a question on the constitution and the powers of the revenue officer, you're supposed to cover chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the Bear Act of the Revenue Act. And then Karnataka Revenue Appellate Tribunal, which is given in chapter 4, containing sections from 40 to 48, is important. And chapter 11, Record of Rights, is important. And then realization of the land and Patta book and Record of Right is important from the short note point of view. And this is the questions from the third unit, that is from the Revenue Act. One repeatedly asked question. We find an almost, majority of the question papers is this revenue officers, powers of the revenue officers. So basically, you're going to concentrate on chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the act revenue act Karnataka Revenue Act. That is the constitution part. And then we have the statement, all land liable to pay land revenue unless specifically exempted. All lands are to be paid revenue unless and until it is specifically exempted. And then there is this concept of a tribunal, record of rights, procedure of settling the revenue dispute, and what is the jurisdiction of the revenue code, how revenue code deals with the matter. So one thing that I would emphasize here is record of right. Patta book is important for the short note. From the long note point of view, you can first give importance to the revenue officers and their powers. And yeah, this is the BERAC number 2. That is Karnataka Land Revenue Act of 1964. This is the BERAC number 2 that you are going to study. And then speaking of the fourth unit basically deals with two acts. One is Karnataka Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, which emphasizes on prohibiting the transfer of certain lands. And this act was enacted in 1978. And one peculiar feature of this act, I would rather say, is that it only contains 12 sections. If you just mention the sections 1 to 12 as it is, you will be able to score. For 10, you can expect 7 to 8 because the chapters, here we don't have chapters, we don't have many sections, we only have got 12 sections. Try to get along with all the 12 sections, write 12 sections as it is. Now, speaking of why is this Karnataka Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Act was enacted? This act was enacted to provide for the prohibition of transfer of certain lands, which is granted by the government to the people belonging to the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes in the state of Karnataka. And then total it consists only of 12 sections, no chapters, nothing, directly 12 sections. And then in the fourth unit itself, we are going to concentrate on one more act, that is Karnataka Land Reforms Act of 1961. Speaking of Karnataka Land Reforms of 1961, it in total consists of 142 sections divided into 11 chapters. This act was enacted to bring uniform law in the state of Karnataka relating to conferment of ownership, tenant sealing on land holdings, and the important questions which are important, like the important questions from the fourth unit would be: one is we find this Karnataka SCST Act, and it's a scoring act, we would rather say. Why? Because you've got only 12 sections. No matter what kind of a question you get from this, you're supposed to give the same answer. So fourth unit, you can aram say score if you just do this chapter. The act, that is Karnataka SCST Act. And then we, from the Reforms Act, the important questions are about this cooperative society, tenants, deemed tenant, then this eviction of tenants, and conferment of ownership of the tenant. These are the certain important questions. And these are the two barracks, which is to be referred from chapter 4, unit 4 of the syllabus. SCST Act and Reforms Act. Give more importance to SCST Act because it's scoring, it is only limited to 12 sections, right? Then comes the last unit. In the last unit is all about Real Estate Regulation and Development Act of 2016. This act was enacted to establish the Real Estate Regulatory Authority for regulating and promoting the transparency in real estate projects, and also to provide for the mechanism for speedy dispute redressal, and for also to establish the appellate tribunal. In this fifth unit and the last unit is again scoring, because here again, if you just read the Bear Act, that in itself is sufficient for you to come up with a good marks, good score. So first important concept is registration of the real estate project and registration of real estate agent. Registration of project and the agent is given in chapter 2 and chapter 2 from 3 to 10, and then chapter 3 deals with functions of the promoter, and chapter 4 deals with the rights and duties of the LRT, and then real estate regulatory authority deals in chapter 5. So in the fifth unit, you people have to just emphasize much upon the sections, like directly reading the Bear Act, you can clear the paper, like, and you can clear the fifth unit. And this is These are the certain important questions. One is, what are the powers of the authority and powers of the promoter, and how the registration of the real estate project takes place. What is the procedure? And then offenses and penalties they have asked in one question paper. It is not much repeatedly asked, but it's been asked in one of the question paper. So basically, if you concentrate on registration process of project and the agent, and the functions of the promoter, agent, and real estate regulatory authority, basically four concepts would be sufficient for you to get along with the fifth unit. So this is all about the analysis of the syllabus and the important questions, like the question series unit wise. And the last BERAC that we are going to refer is Real Estate Regulation and the Development Act of 2016. So these are the five acts. One is Rehabilitation Act. One is Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013, BERAC number 1. BERAC number 2 is Revenue Act of 1964. And BERAC number 3 is SC/ST Act of 1989. And then BERAC number 4 is Land Reforms Act of 1961. And the last BERAC, fifth BERAC, is Real Estate Regulation Development Act of 2016. Give importance to the BER Act. Like, try to study the BER Act once. And this is all about the analysis of the syllabus. If you are in need of any guidance, you can contact to our team on a given number 7019560214. All the best for your upcoming semester. See you all in the next video.